Alright, so we have our replacement parts here next to our original parts. They look fairly much the same. I've noticed when I watched other YouTube videos on this subject is quite often they'll give you new bolts. At least in the situation where you get just the bushings for your inner tie rod end. I got the whole ball of wax, bushing and tie rod end. It was a kit. It was about 60 bucks on Amazon, and I got the outer tie rod end with a zerk, an inward tie rod end, this sleeve right here, okay? But I did not get these. I think you get new bolts if you get just these bushings. It was 60 bucks for this kit, for this part left and right. I think if I could do it over again, I would have only bought this bushing and this tie rod end. I don't really think there's anything wrong with this sleeve. And in addition to that, it's really odd. The kit I bought basically included these items that you see here and nothing else. Okay? In other words, they had everything here except for this sleeve right here. There's two sleeves. They did not have that sleeve in this kit. It just seems odd if you have that much stuff. You have inner, outer tie rod end in this sleeve, but you don't have that. I think that is somewhat odd. I guess it doesn't matter. We'll take it apart. We'll use this sleeve. But the thing what we're going to have to do here now is we're going to have to measure the overall length of our left and our right tie rod, center to center, center of this hole to the center of that, to give us a rough idea of, you know, what size to adjust these to. If you can get relatively close, at least the car will be okay enough to drive to the alignment shop. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get an estimate on or a pretty close guess, pretty close measurement of the length of this tie rod for both the driver and the passenger, or driver and passenger one. So I'm going to do that next. Okay. All right, I'm just going to show you a couple things here to make this job a little bit easier. When you put this thing back together, the new parts, you want to have it so the car is at least in the ballpark of alignment. So what I did is I measured center to center, center of this hole to the center of this stud here. I got 24.5 inches. Just so I don't forget, and just so I don't forget what side's what, I wrote driver 24.5, okay? So we remember that. And on my passenger one, that ended up being 25 inches even. So, and as long as I mentioned, I finally bought some of that junkyard marker paint stick, and boy, what more could you want? It shows up good, it dries almost instantaneously, and it doesn't rub off. It's everything you could want in a marker. So I bought one red one and a white one and a yellow one. God damn, that's a nice thing to have. Well, yeah, I guess we should be mentioning what's going on. Of course, this is basically just screwing her together, right? All right, now we have some room left so we can adjust it either way. And let's just check out our overall length and see if it's even close to what, was it 24.5 for the driver's side?
Yeah.
We've got to screw it together yet. Look at that, see? It's a little over 25. All right, I don't have my cameraman with me here for this final part of the job where we're putting things back together, but I assembled the tie rod ends. This one goes on the passenger side. The one on the driver's side looks pretty much the same. I measured the overall length of both of them before I took the old ones apart. And I reassembled the new ones to that same length. So that's what I got going on there. So now I'm going to install them in the car and see how things go. All right, so reassembling is pretty much just sticking it through this hole in the fender well. Put it in like that. And then we're going to work on attaching them to the rack, the steering rack right there, and then attaching the outer tie rod end. So we'll see how it goes here. All right, I have one piece of advice I think I'm going to give you here at this point. This boot that goes over your steering rack. When I was taking these out to make it easier to remove the bolts, I turned the wheels as far to the right as they could go. This boot does not move with the inner mechanism of the rack. It will once the tie rod ends are on. But when there's no tie rod ends on it, these accordion type pieces here tend to make this go back to center, even if your steering's not at center. You can see how easy it is to move that though. Okay? And you can pull it that way, because I still have the wheels turned all the way to the right. I think I have a little more clearance for working on that bolt right there. I'm putting on the first one, the driver's side, inside tie rod end. Okay? It's a little easier to turn that bolt. But I was able to move, I just pulled on this boot, and I was able to look through the hole, and I was able to see where the threads were on the inner mechanism of the steering rack. And I was able to get it started. When I first tried this, I was just wasting my time turning this, I was nowhere near the hole. But once I pulled this and was able to see where the hole on the inner mechanism of the steering rack was, it was fairly easy to get that bolt started. Now I have to put on the inner tie rod end on the passenger side. So I'll do that and I'll come back to it, right? Like I said, I have no cameraman right now, so I'm going to have to be, while I'm actually doing the work, I'm not going to be able to do any videoing, but hopefully this will come through to you for you just fine. All right, I got the inner tie rods on. At this point, I'm going to have to put on the outer tie rods and ends, and that's fairly easy. You just put the stud through the hole in that arm and tighten it up. So pretty easy. You'll probably have to move the steering knuckle one way or the other to get the job done, but it's no biggie. Shouldn't be too tough. We'll put some anti-seize compound on those threads and torque them up. All right, so now we got to tighten up our inner tie rod ends here. And I was just using a regular wrench on this to just see if it was spinning, but it does seem to be working right. It's supposed to, the torque spec on this is 28 pounds, okay? But I was using a regular wrench just to see if that stud was spinning, and it's not. Now it's starting to feel like there's some torque on it. All right, so I'm gonna, there it is, 28 pounds, 28 pounds is, these are supposed to be 27 foot-pounds. This pinch bolt up here, that's supposed to be 28 foot-pounds. I'm not going to do that one though until I have the alignment within reason. So we'll check our alignment when we're all done, and then we will monkey with that. Before I forget to, I'm going to put some grease on that grease zerk. Hey sports fans, I bet you're wondering, well, where's the rest of the video? Well, to be honest with you, I'm wondering the same thing myself. I don't know if I lost the SD card or it didn't get recorded or what happened, but I just can't find it. But fortunately, most of the pertinent information about doing this job is on the video you just seen. About the only things I'm missing is the final assembly, which would be involved putting on the bolts through the inner tie rod ends, which is the part right behind the motor. I just want to mention that once you get them torqued down to spec, make sure you remember to bend over those tabs on that washer to keep the bolts from backing out. And if you like this video, omissions and mistakes and all, you know, I'd appreciate it if you liked, shared, and subscribed, and did everything it takes to make this #1 channel on YouTube. And till then, we'll see you next time here at the Fix Yourself channel.